so we are going to do our first observation, and we should have the date written down so we know it's going to be January 29th. Our start time, take a look at the clock. Go ahead and write down the time that you see, or look at your phone, or look at your laptop because you should have your clock up on the corner. So that's going to be our start time. So we have date, we have start time. Now we need to get down location. And the location is, well, it looks like some playground stuff. It looks like a backyard. There's some playground equipment. So for my observation, I could say backyard, play set, play equipment, outside, and that would work for my location. All right, next I'm going to need to determine who am I observing. Well, if I look at the slide, I know that I'm observing Robin and I'm observing Lucy. Lucy is right here at the bottom of the slide. Robin is up here at the top of the slide. You just can't see him yet, but you will. Okay, so we have Robin and Lucy. That is who we are observing. Now we need to think about approximate ages. Well, here's the thing. We don't personally know Robin and Lucy, but we could take a guess. So if I'm looking at Lucy, she looks like she's preschool age. So she's got to be somewhere between 3 to 5 years old. So on my observation, I could write 3 to 5, or I could say preschool age. For Robin, since we can't see him, Robin's got to be like toddler age. So we're looking at about 1 to 2 years of age, but somewhere toddler-ish. Okay, so that's what you could put down for Robin's age. All right, so we have date, start time, location, name of the kids, and we have the age of the child. So the only thing that we're missing right now is this time ended, but guess what? We have to make the observation before we can put our end time, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and watch what happens with Robin and Lucy. And again, we are trying to be objective, just the facts, just what we see, just what we hear. And that's where I'm going to stop it, okay? So now look at the clock. Look at what your end time is. Be sure to get that on your observation right away so you don't forget it, okay? And then just briefly write down what is it that you saw happen. So I'll give you a minute or two. Write down what you see or what you saw. All right, so see if you have something maybe similar to what I'm going to say out loud. Now, it doesn't have to be identical, but if we're doing objective observation correctly, it should sound very similar. Okay? So, did any of you have something like Lucy climbs up slide, slides down, Lucy and Robin laugh? Lucy climbs up slide, slides down, Lucy and Robin laugh. And if I wanted to, if I didn't want to write that over and over again, because let's be real, it's repetitive here, I could say Lucy climbs up slide, slides down, Lucy and Robin laugh. Repeat, repeat, repeat. Or I could say, like, if we knew that they did this 4 or 5 times, I could say repeat 4 times. And then we know that was the actions that were repeated. Okay, so that should be something along the lines of what you have on your observation. Now remember, I don't want to put subjective in there, because what if I said Lucy clumsily climbs the slide and then she constantly falls down? She is not coordinated. Oh, no, no, no. Because for anyone observing this, it sure doesn't seem to be that way. In fact, it would seem to be the opposite. You almost start to wonder if she's purposefully doing it because she's able to get Robin to laugh and then she starts laughing. Now, again, that's still subjective thought too, but I don't know. That would probably be a little bit closer versus saying she's clumsy, okay? So either way, we don't know if she's clumsy. We don't know if she's purposely trying to make Robin laugh and then herself laugh. So all the more reason, keep subjective out of it, okay? Now, we're going to do another one together. So what I want you to do, I want you to start getting down information for our next clip. Okay, so remember the basics before we ever get started. What is the date? Well, the date is January 29th. What is the start time? Well, look at the clock. Whatever it says on the clock, go ahead and write that down. Okay, location. Well, they're sitting on a chair and it looks to be a living room. So we could say living room. We could say chair in living room. That would work for location. Who are we observing? Well, on the PowerPoint slide, it tells us we are observing Harry and we're observing Charlie. Now, just for your information, Harry is the child on the left. Charlie is the child on the right. So it is Harry and Charlie. Okay, approximate ages. If you were to take a guess, what do you think their ages are? Because again, we don't personally know Harry and Charlie. But if we were to guess, Harry's got to be preschool age, somewhere between 3 and 5, right? So I could say 3 to 5 years old. I could say preschool age. Either one of those would work. Charlie, on the other hand, he's definitely not preschool age. He's looking more to be like 1, because he's not quite looking like a 2-year-old toddler. So he's roughly 1 year old. Okay, so we have date, we have start time, we have location, we have who is being observed, and we have approximate ages. Okay, so let's go ahead and try to create our objective observation. What do you see? What do you hear happening?
Charlie. Charlie bit me. Ah! Ah! Oh! Ouch! Ouch! Ouch, Charlie! Ow! Charlie! That really hurt! And that really hurt, Johnny, and it's still hurting.
Okay, so there's Charlie and Harry. So before you forget, look at the time. What does the clock say? Because we need to get our end time written down. And then go ahead and just write down briefly, what did you observe? What did you see? What did you hear? Okay, so for Harry and Charlie, see if you have something similar. Harry and Charlie are sitting in a chair. Harry puts finger in Charlie's mouth. Harry says, "Ouch, Charlie, it hurts." Charlie giggles. Harry says, "Charlie bit my finger. Charlie, that really hurted, and it's still hurting." And then done. Now, I didn't get it exactly like how they were saying things, but it's enough to know that they were talking. This is roughly what they said, because again, that can be part of objective observation, right? So we get the basics of what was going on here. Now, again, we want to keep subjective out of it, because what if we said something like, Charlie is a vicious child who goes around biting people's fingers? Ah, no, that wouldn't be true, because Harry's the one that stuck his finger in Charlie's mouth. So that's why we got to keep it out of there, because otherwise, poor Charlie, he's going to be seen as this little deviant, and he's probably not. So again, all the more reason, keep it objective, okay? So with that said, each time we observe things, we are learning to see more. Because remember, our observations are just the tip of the iceberg. But when we start determining, why is this happening? Why did this child do this? Why did they say this? What's going on? Why is this happening? We start to get the bigger picture. And when we have the bigger picture, that's when we can start to do our best work when we're working with kids, because we know why. We're getting more of the backstory and better ideas for then how to help them. Okay, so here's what I'm going to have you do today. In Canvas, if you look at our page, let's see here. Yeah, you can kind of see it. So Friday, we have this exit ticket right here. Okay, and it says answer the following questions before you leave today. So I want you to click on this observation reflection, and what it's going to ask you is think of when subjective observations go wrong. And I want you to now make this personal. Okay, so think of a time when someone was wrong about you. They made a subjective observation about you, and it was completely wrong. Okay, so tell me about that. Tell me what happened. Tell me about how that made you feel. Tell me if you learned something from it. Okay? And then the other question is, tell me a time when you made a subjective observation and you were wrong. Because remember, we're human. Our brains sometimes tend to jump to subjective. So guess what? We've all been guilty of doing it. Okay, so think of a time when you were wrong and it was like, ooh, yeah, that wasn't right. Okay, so tell me about that situation. Tell me that little aha moment that you realized, whoops, didn't have that one right. Okay, and is there anything that you learned from it? Okay, so that's what I want you to work on between now and when the bell rings. If you need some time to think about it, I completely respect that. But I do want to see your reflections definitely submitted by the end of class on Monday. I think that's a fair request because you would have the whole weekend if you need it, okay? So go ahead and get those answered, and shortly you're going to be able to start packing up and spraying down tables. So have a wonderful weekend, everyone. I'll see you on Monday.